It's a pleasure to now open our Open Forum Middle East and North Africa here in Amman today. So again, a warm welcome. And what the name is saying, so it's an open forum. So please accept this open forum as your foremost platform to shape the future of the Middle East and North Africa. And open means it's open for everyone in the region. It's open for you. We would like to invite you to engage yourself to shape your own future. Because we are convinced at the World Economic Forum that the future of the Middle East, North Africa will be certainly written in Middle East, North Africa, and it should be written by you. And today, we have the discussion how to enable the youth, the next generation, so means you, by using technology in order to create inclusive growth, good education, vocational training, and jobs. And that means we have to talk about entrepreneurship. We have to talk about innovation. And it's not only a standalone event, because even today, back to back with this event, we will have our World Economic Forum, the Middle East, North Africa, at the Dead Sea, together with 100 Arabic startups, young entrepreneurs, supported by these colleagues on the panel, talking about innovation, good ideas, and entrepreneurship. Hopefully, once mass entrepreneurship in the region. So welcome to all of you. Hope that here in the room and or on the stage is sitting the next unicorn on a global level out of the Middle East, North Africa, because it's our dream and our job to create this platform for you to turn job seeker into job creator. On that note, I would like to hand over to our today's moderator, Leif. Thank you very much, and again, a warm welcome.
Thank you, Philip. مساء الخير جميعا.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, what we are going to discuss is innovation, and innovation is a major element or pillar of the competitiveness of the states. The state that can, the state, the institutions, and the stakeholders, and the individuals in the state that can innovate, that can create a new future for them. There is a gentleman from MIT University, Peter Drucker. He used to say, the best way to compete in the future is to create your future, your own future through innovation. Today, I have the honor to sit with our panelists here today. We have Ms. Valentina. She's Chief Executive Officer of Abdelhamid Shoman, member of the Scientific Research Council in Jordan, with long experience in entrepreneurship, youth and development. On my left is Mr. Karim Qawar, a businessman, a well-known businessman in Jordan and an old friend, and president of Qawar Group in Jordan, and he has long experience in IT and now in the field of renewable energy. And he's one of the founders of the Intaj Society and one of the founders of REACH initiative for the IT leaders, growth leaders in Jordan. And we have Ms. Khadija Idrisi Janati from Morocco. She's here with us today. She's the founder and chief executive officer of KMK Group in Morocco, and she works in the field of communications, public relations, and digital marketing. We also have Mr. Noor Khreis. Noor is the founder and CEO of Maysil World, Jordanian company, Chief Executive Officer of the National Committee for Electronic National Gaming Task Force. One of the things I would like to mention about Noor is that his first degree was in agriculture, and he has another MA in marketing and a high diploma in mobile telecommunication. We have Mr. Khalid Al-Ahmed, who is the director of social media in Zain. He is advisor and trainer in social media. So he will be giving us some ideas today and some opinions on the use of social media. And last but not least, the entrepreneurs in Jordan, and his first degree was in agricultural economy, but he found himself in innovation, IT, and such things. Please welcome our guests today, and we will watch this small movie, and then we will start our session.
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
That was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the fourth Industrial Revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
The features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
We need a different economic model that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, and that will be focused not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being.
We have energy technologies that can power our civilization, but how do we get it and implement it at the scale we need at a price that people around the world can afford?
If we're able to do something to transform cities, to make them more efficient, then the impact can be huge.
We can use asset tracking, we can use IT, we can use 3D printing to decouple growth from the resource constraints we have.
The question of adding quality to quantity, it's really about a diverse, safe, healthy, and just world with clean air, clean water, clean energy.
Together we are fighting to preserve our fragile climate from irreversible damage and devastation of unthinkable proportions.
The prediction of 5 million jobs lost by 2020 to technology is serious, but the main question is, how will we define work? How will we share the wealth?
How can you have a doctor that really knows a lot about data? How can you have a biologist that knows about medicine?
We have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts, to think creative thoughts.
We really need a new education or new training.
We're working with a World in Motion and First Robotics, trying to encourage students from 3rd grade all the way up through the end of high school to pursue science, math, and different technologies.
This ability of digital technology to change outcomes, to truly empower people that can create a more equitable growth.
Fourth Industrial Revolution has the potential to make inequalities visible and to make them less acceptable in the future.
I was the first person in the world to be able to voluntarily move my legs while stepping in a robot. The cure will be possible if enough of the right people have the will to make it happen.
We're seeing this incredibly exciting convergence of genome editing, DNA sequencing. Governments have a very important role to play in enabling the safe and effective use of technologies.
We need to take responsibility at every level of society to adapt to these technological challenges, which are redefining what it means to be completely embedded in this world.
Even though we have everyday problems we have to solve, we have to find a way to lay the foundations for the innovations of tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Before we start, Khalid, you talked about the use of social media now before we access the room. A bit. I talked a bit. Would you like to add anything else before we start? Yeah, sure. If you like me to, we can talk about some statistics about the social media, or you have 2 minutes to talk about social media. We know that social media platforms are there around the world, and high penetration or strong penetration. In Jordan, high penetration of Facebook, 5.2 million accounts on Facebook, 5.2 million accounts on Facebook, and 73% are under are 34 or under 34, and we have 400,000 on Twitter, 200,000 on Instagram in Jordan, and on WhatsApp we have hashtag Arabi, 6 million accounts, and LinkedIn is 556,000. And Jordan is the first in the world in terms of the social media accounts compared to the users of internet, more than 9%, which is the first worldwide. We as users of social media, we are very active users of social media. Thank you. Valentina, let me start with you. Whenever we hear the word innovation, the first thing that comes to our mind is information technology or IT. So let me ask you, do we only have innovation in technology, or do we find innovation in other places? Where do we find innovation? And why is it important? Why innovation is important? And the question you want me to ask you, can cultural and social innovation lead entrepreneurship in the Jordanian economy or the world economy, the global economy? If we start talking about innovation, innovation means transforming something, transforming an idea, an initiative, something in mind, transform it to something new that can fulfill a need or meet a need. And for it to be called innovation, it should benefit a number of people with useful uses. Is it only technology that solves problems? No, of course not. We have innovation that is relevant to social innovation, cultural innovation, and sport innovation, and there is agricultural innovation. So innovation is there in every field as long as it helps me address a problem or meet a need, fulfill a need. So it has to do with innovation. Where do I find it? Every person who can find a solution for a certain problem or meet a need, we start thinking about innovation when we are doing so. Is innovation important and establishes entrepreneurship? Yes, but how do we get to innovation as a concept? As in the film, they said how much our schools should focus on sciences, on technology, engineering, the creative thinking and critical thinking. These are the basics and they are very important. We ask ourselves, why? What's the problem? And everybody faces problems, but how can we analyze these problems to identify the solution, to find the solution? How can I fulfill or satisfy a need? It's important to start with a school, and I'm one of those who saw many innovation models at schools, not only in technology, but different models. Is it important? It's essential. It's very important. Innovation gets us to entrepreneurship. We can create opportunities and address problems. If there is the infrastructure for entrepreneurship, this will lead to prosperity in the private sector, which would create jobs, job opportunities, and help us address our problems. In the Arab world, we have a big unemployment problem, one of the highest in the world. Technology is important, but not only technology. There is social and cultural innovation. They are also solving problems for us. We do have a problem in reading, and how can I transfer such a problem? How can I find a problem for reading? I can use technology, and technology can help me to be widespread, to spread around the world, to proliferate, to expand my base. We can go to companies, we can seek the help of companies address this problem. So technology is important, but not only innovation. Connecting both together would maximize the impact of innovation. Can you give me some examples on social or cultural innovation that you dealt with? I can give you so many examples. I will cite some of them. A couple of minutes ago, I was saying we have a problem in reading. because we don't have the content, the Arab content, where we like structured Arab content online. We don't have online libraries or Arabic books in a structured manner. So there is no access to those books or libraries, and people can't access them. So we have a number of people around the room here, I saw some of them, who transformed this problem to an idea, to a concept. So we have a platform called المفكرون الصغار, little thinkers or small thinkers. We transferred or transformed all books to be accessible online. So it's not they are only there and go read them, but they are there in a creative way. You read them, and there are models, examples, and you advance from one level to another. So this is technology, but it's linked to culture. Another example about cultural innovation in one area in Amman, in one district, let's say it's a bit extremist or radical a bit, and the children there don't have space, a child-friendly space there. So they go to the street and they might be delinquent. Some person decided to benefit from an empty space. He used it, and he started using music and theater to send messages to those street children. And it's a traditional, environment, so they did not accept music a lot. We have orchestra now in this area. It's not me. They have the orchestra. So this is a societal or cultural innovation where you could utilize this problem, this need. You came up with this idea, and this idea is being implemented in several districts in Jordan. It is being replicated, and God willing, we will see orchestra for children in a number of other governorates. This is very important. I have so many examples, but I will give room to others. Thank you, Valentina. Mr. Karim Qawar, I have several questions. Why are we talking about innovation? And why it is important for Jordan, and why is it important for the companies in Jordan? The availability of the funding, does it support innovation? And what's the role of funding? Karim, thank you, Laith, and thank you, World Economic Forum, for selecting Jordan to hold the annual conference. This is a certificate for Jordan. This is a testimony for Jordan, for the economy and the population of Jordan. I am proud to be among you, amongst many innovators and creators and entrepreneurs we see in the audience. I started my first company 30 years ago. So, one of the elderly today, an old person. If we look at innovation and creation, we should look at the youth generation, the young generation. Many of you are here with us today. It's an honor as well to be one of the arbitrators in selecting the first 100, the best 100 Arab startups. One of the referees or arbitrators, I say one of the top 20 are Jordanians. So we have innovative companies in Jordan. We have some companies that created success. The easiest thing for me is to see a successful company, or let's say we use this term that you started a falafel restaurant and it makes profit. I will open a falafel place next to it. And this is the tradition we have been having on a wide scale. Now, all the jobs we know today will disappear soon. They will disappear in the field of economy because we started to see robots around the world. taking the jobs of humans, and in the field of services because of artificial intelligence. They are making a lot of jobs, they are dismissing a lot of these jobs in the field of IT. So many jobs have been made redundant by this technology. So the youth need to create their jobs. If you go to university and study IT or computer programming, the language you study first year, when you graduate on the fourth year, you will find that this language that you studied became obsolete and you need to study a new language. The fourth industrial revolution that we saw in the video. Today, innovation does not need basic funding. I mean, any person can develop their idea with small, tools, maybe on a notebook or on your even smartphone. You can develop an app or a program, but for the basic funding for this company to succeed or to win, Faisal will talk about Oasis 500, and there are many incubators, business incubators that provide the basic or the seed capital. Once you take this idea, be successful, and he never failed in his life. Failure is normal, is natural in our community. We need to accept that failure is part of the success. However, I need to learn. I need to learn from the failure of the others. I need to learn from the mistakes of the others in order to be able to avoid them in my work, but I also need to learn from my own mistakes. So the one who starts a company and he did not succeed, he started another company, his success might increase more than, the double next time. So they should be persevering. It's not that you failed the first time, then you go look for a job to be employed, because this is the security you're looking for. Your ambition should go in parallel with persevering and hard work. In Jordan, whenever I look at the last 30 years, I feel so proud of what we have achieved so far. However, this advanced level that we have reached, we can't just sit back and say we have succeeded in this field or sector, so let's sit back and do nothing. No, this is a catalyst for us to, accelerate the growth of the different sectors. We have reached 2025 initiative about the digital economy we are seeking to achieve in Jordan. Part of this initiative is that every government organization and company should have a plan for digital transformation. A large part of the services that can be offered by any company still rely on manual tools, certain forms that you need to fill out, and some clients that come face to face. This will witness complete transformation. For you to be able to compete worldwide, you need to have digital transformation, be part of the digital economy. You're not part of the local economy. Look at the regional and the worldwide economy and be an effective part of it. Thank you, Mr. Karim. I just want to say a couple of things before I move to the third speaker. Innovation is transforming knowledge to money. The ideas, the existing ideas and research, how can we use them in order to come up with something that has value for the market and to address problems? R&D is transforming knowledge to transforming money to knowledge. But innovation, you take knowledge and transfer it to or transform it into money. one of the things mentioned by Mr. Karim and is very important. We, as a state, as a country, we don't have a lot of resources. If we could not develop our capacity, if we could not come up with solutions that have markets locally, regionally, and internationally, we will be in bad shape economically. So innovation plays a key role in developing the economy in Jordan and the regional economy of all the Arab countries. Let me move to Ms. Khadija Idrisi, who came from Morocco. She asked me to speak to her in English because the Moroccan dialect is difficult for Jordanians to understand. So let me switch to English and we'll come back to Arabic again.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
You've done a lot of interesting things in your life, and as I was reading your profile, I wanted to get your input on the role of innovation in reform in the Arab world. Maybe there are some examples in Morocco. And if the Arab world is going to reform itself, what do you see as the most important areas that innovation can play a role? And finally, as a woman entrepreneur, what do women bring to innovation? And do they have a different perspective or something special or a unique perspective to innovation for us? Please.
Okay, well, thank you. I am honored to be today in front of such a colorful audience. I'm very happy to see at least as many women as men in the audience, which means that there is a big step that has been done in Jordan, but in other countries from the region when it comes to the place of women and their projection in their societies. You want me to talk about innovation and reforms. I would say that a reform, by definition, is a change, is bringing something new to the table. And a reform would definitely require a state of mind which accepts the change and accepts new things. Innovation is nothing more or different from new ways of doing same things most of the time. I think that innovation is both a state of mind, a mindset, and a skill. Sometimes we ask the question about is innovation or is there a gene of innovators. I would say that it can be acquired, but it requires a certain number of prerequisites, which are critical thinking, which are questioning, never taking things for granted, and believing that the world is changing every second. When we have this real conviction that nothing is meant to be stable, that feeling of refusing the status quo, we can say that we are ready for innovation. So for me, there is no reform without creating a real momentum of innovation. And if I had to name one type of innovation that is critical to reform, I would talk about cultural innovation. We have been, even if in our countries in the Arab region, many efforts have been made by the different governments in order to step further in different areas, economic, social, political. But we do not really succeed in making all the changes we want to implement because we did not really play on that culture, the change of the mentalities, the cultural innovation. And this is something that has to come within our everyday life. It has to come within the education systems. It has to be visible on our media. We need to raise our children to question everything. I want to talk even about innovating in the way we interpret religions. It is very important, especially in these times where extremism is really taking a big place in our region. Let's challenge the way religions have been explained to us and have been transmitted to us. Let's believe that religions are really can be adapted to every place and every time, as we have been told from the beginning, and let's challenge the interpretation we have been taught about that, so that we can accept that nothing is stable and everything can be questioned. I think that I need to go to your last part, which is about women.
Please.
You asked me, what do women bring to innovation? I would say that women bring to innovation exactly what men do. I mean that sometimes we talk about women as a species. It's not. I mean, women are just more than 50% of the population of the world, and they have been created by the same creator of men, as far as we know, and I think that they do operate exactly the same way from an outside perspective, but from an inside perspective, they definitely function or operate differently, because they are different, even within the species of women. Not all women do operate the same way, just like not all men operate the same way. So, but I would say that women do bring to innovation more than men do, because we have been taught that the need is the mother of innovation. And most of the time, women are more in need than men, especially in our region. So it's not a choice. Most of the time, it's a result of situations that women are facing every day. You know, we are born daughters of a man, and then we become sisters of a man, then wives of a man. Then even when you get children, you become fulan, which means that the life of women is all the time linked to a male presence, which makes us struggle every day in order to prove that we can exist by ourselves, not all the time linked to the existence of a male person in the surrounding. So I believe that women do innovate more and differently than men. They do innovate in everyday life, in their everyday life, to make their lives better, to make their families' lives better, and to make even the world a better place to live, because they are most of the time taking care of the biggest parts of the education of the children. These children will be the citizens of tomorrow. So what we would see as a result is much more of the impact of women's education of the new generations than men. So they do have a biggest responsibility in innovating, but society has to help both men and women in thinking the right way from a global perspective.
شكرا كثير. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The innovative mother will raise innovative children, so maybe the basis of it is with you, not with us. I want to move to Mr. Noor. Noor, there are many companies that start in Jordan, and they innovate in Jordan, and they achieve success in Jordan, and then they move out of Jordan. They go somewhere else. So the first question is why? Secondly, when we look at the Jordanian environment, we have a lot of assets. We have people who are efficient. We have schools. We have universities. We have regulations. All the particularities of the environment. What are the most important component? What is it that gives us the power to start here? What is it that gives us this steroid or the things that help us? And what is the key challenge that we are facing now in Jordan when it comes to innovation and the startup companies? And based on the challenges for you, what are the priorities in terms of challenges? If you want to address these challenges, what are the 2 or 3 things that you will handle first? And that's all. Thank you. Thank you, Laith. Before I answer the questions, I would like to define entrepreneurship and innovation. It's not only for a person who has an idea or who is opening a startup. You can be an entrepreneur inside a government institution or a private institution. So if we can get out of this thinking, we will find the first solution to the problems that we will mention later, that entrepreneurship is not the monopoly of technology or the person who opens a startup or a business. So people, as you have defined innovation, if you define it within your own institution, whether it's public or private, you will be an entrepreneur. And this is very important so that we can develop. Yes, you know, there are numerous challenges. I will be very honest. As an entrepreneur, I've been doing this for 14 years. And we have numerous challenges. And these challenges, if they are financial, having the capital, because we have capital, but it is not commensurate with the personality of or a project of an entrepreneur, not having clarity in laws. There is some vagueness. It is as if you have a translator, but he doesn't understand anything to translate. We have, between us and the government and the laws, there is some arbitrary translation of laws. And we have outputs that we are seeing. Karim spoke about them. They are not compatible with the things that are changing today. And these outputs, we do not blame universities only or schools. Because all of these challenges that are happening, they make entrepreneurs sometimes leave or quit. They try to find another place to, that can accommodate his idea or his plan that he wants to pursue. And today, at the same time, I look at some people who left, and we've benefited from this point. We do not want to look at this only as a problem. Sometimes departure, or for example, today we as a company, we opened in Britain, but the company did not leave. We increased our expansion. We have a colleague who is Muhannad Taslak. Because there were no people who understand 3D, he traveled to San Francisco, he worked, and where is Muhannad and his team? They are now in Amman. And some people traveled and brought investment in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf, and their team is getting bigger in Jordan, but they left because of a problem or a challenge. Our job today, and this is what we were talking about a while ago, is that we do not communicate. We do not communicate. Let us communicate. Let us know what the challenges are, and let us connect these challenges and find solutions to them. And also problems at universities. Let doctors be part of R&D, research and development. Doctors at universities, let them not be only conveyors of a curriculum to give a degree to students. So R&D, they are part of success of entrepreneurship. We spoke about women also. I do not see any separation between men and women, except for the wrong definition, that because after all, it's a person who does a job. But today, because we do not have a very simple thing, which is safe and decent transportation for women to come to work, I don't have this safe transportation system. So we have to tap, this affects entrepreneurship. I want Khadija to work with me because she's an innovator, but I cannot appoint her because she cannot get to me. I cannot find her also. So we have to find a solution to this problem. we are talking today about problems that had existed in the past, like money, you want investments. We found a solution to this problem. Today, when I want to innovate and you want me to work on a new technology today, I'm a technology person, but unfortunately, somebody else at the Jordanian customs, he doesn't know about the technology that I'm working on. It's not that he's bad, but I'm not communicating with him. It's just like I'm here today teaching entrepreneurs and youth. I should also educate that person at the customs post so that he will know that when I bring in this technology, Jordan and our youth will move to another stage. One of the funny things in the past period is that you have one of the tax employees, and this is another part of communication. He will tell you, is it possible for you that in 2011 you spent 100,000 dinars but you did not make any profit? He doesn't understand what entrepreneurship means. So the accountant will tell you if you can maybe add an amount of profit, because the tax people will not believe you that you are not making profit and you have a company that has 15 employees. That this is a part of the problems that are making entrepreneurs and youth leave the country, and even entrepreneurs within the government institution. You want the entrepreneurship also to be within the institution. Leadership is one of the solutions that we should teach. We should have the leadership education inside our thinking from school to university. Yes, he should be accepted and supported inside the institution, but the person is not applying this. Thank you very much. So in my opinion, these are the things that go together. Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal. It's your turn. By the way, Faisal and I are colleagues at the same university. We were colleagues at the same university. So anybody who wants to succeed in IT should study agriculture, actually. Now, we took some challenges from Noor, challenges that we're facing. In innovation and invention. Can you tell us a little bit about the role of incubators and accelerators and how they help to keep up with the challenges and to overcome these challenges? And I want, if you can give me one or two examples, the best 2 or 3 companies that you've seen in innovation, and why do you think that these are good examples? All our companies are good, actually. I want you to select 2 or 3. I'll give you some background about the work of Oasis as a business accelerator, which is a higher degree than the traditional incubator. In addition to managing investment, it's a business accelerator and it invests in startups in technology. The first business incubator in the world was in San Francisco in 2005. And for obvious reasons on that market, Oasis followed 10 years later, or 5 years later, sorry, in 2010. When Oasis was established, Jordan, its ranking in the Arab world in entrepreneurship was 9th or 10th. In 2012, there was a study on entrepreneurship in the Arab world, and Jordan, or Amman, to be more specific, because Oasis has been and is still in Amman. Amman was the first Arab city as a destination for a startup in entrepreneurship in 2012, and it exceeded, and it was more than other countries in the region and in Europe. So it was the first on the Arab level and the 10th worldwide as a destination. And I don't want to attribute all of this to Oasis, but during that period between 2010 to 2012, most of the startups had emerged from Oasis as an investment fund for acceleration. The National Society for Business Accelerators in the United States, they have a standard for the importance of accelerators. The continuity of a company after 5 years, 87%. On the other hand, the company that started outside the incubator, 44%. So the chances of improvement and success, they double. Only when because you are within a business incubator. And I felt this personally in my work. In 2013, I left my job. I worked at an investment fund, and I set up my own company for electronic trade. And at the time when I was asked why I quit, I told them that through working with this fund, I did not learn literally how to succeed, but I learned 1,000 ways how to fail. I learned different ways of failure. And frankly, this is the biggest advantage of the business incubator. Success does not have one formula or one way. Every company succeeds in a different way. But reality is that failure mostly is similar. And the ways to failure are mostly the same. So the business incubator, which is the perfect place for you to learn from others and to learn not how they succeeded, but the mistakes that they made and to avoid these mistakes. So this is the biggest added value to the business incubator. I agree with you 100%. So what was the second question? Examples of companies. Oasis, since it started until today, between the two funds, it has invested in 180 companies, and the success rate of companies has exceeded, let's say, the international percentage. A large part of this is due to the culture that we spoke about at the beginning and not accepting failure. Yes, our companies continued, but mostly some of the companies did not continue, and this is acceptable, and this is part of changing the culture to accept failure. We cannot go forward unless we realize that failure is part of the process. The examples, all of them are distinguished. I want to give an example of two companies that stood out in terms of innovation and in terms of development. Madfu'at.com started from Oasis with the 20,000 dinars investment. Madfu'at.com, its chances of continuity were almost non-existent because the law was not there. So God gave us success that the timing of establishing Madfu'at.com and electronic payment coincided with a change in the central bank law. So it was the only company in Jordan that was qualified to provide this service. We invested 20,000. Now the company is over 20 million, worth more than 20 million. It was one staffer, now 50 persons working in the company. So this is one example. And here I want to go back to innovation and how we define innovation. It could be an invention, it could be cloning, it could be merger of two things, or it could be, I forgot the third one. But Madfu'at.com is an example of cloning or copying, because the platform was not invented by Nasser, but he applied it to the Jordanian market. Another example is the Arabia Weather website. It started from a hobby, and it moved to a platform, local Jordanian platform, and now it's an Arab platform. And they developed an algorithm and software to predict the weather, hyper-localized weather prediction. So they can predict for nearest 1.8 square kilometers, and this technology does not exist in the world. This is in Jordan, was done in Jordan, with Jordanian minds, Jordanian engineers. They did this. Thank you very much. I want to conclude with Mr. Khalid Al-Ahmad. We spoke about him. We said that he works in social media. Khalid, of course, all the attendees, they are on Facebook and on Twitter and similar things. And since you work in Zain, do you think that social media can be considered a new platform for innovation in terms of communication, networking between people, transferring ideas? And if you have any examples that you can cite, or persons who met together and who did something. And the last question to the panelists: the role of social media in promoting innovation in Jordan, and is this important for companies or for persons or for both? Now, social media, every person is born in a certain environment and is limited socially by relatives, neighbors, family, friends, colleagues. So prior to social media, communication with persons like decision makers, potential partners was very difficult. But now with social media platforms, maybe people in the governorates have ideas, a very powerful idea, and they don't have certain components or supporters or partners. But by being present on social media platforms, they can find the right partners, they can find support for their ideas. And one simple example is a person who's 16 years old. His name is Mohammed Artoum. Mohammed Artoum is very skillful in IT, and he developed a website. He developed a simple initiative. He said, I can create a website for all the small initiatives. And there was a contest and a committee, and he selected 22 small initiatives, and he did sites for them online free of charge. And in this way, on social media platforms, he promoted himself. So everybody now knows that Mohammed Artoum develops websites. So he did a win-win situation through social media. What was the second question? The benefit for persons or companies. Certainly. Now, all the companies, when social media began, they said that these companies will die in a year or two. So now there was an active presence of persons on social media platforms more than companies. Hence, we had the term of influencers, activists on social media, and then companies joined in. And until today, companies are communicating on social media in a traditional manner. It's a big opportunity for them to be present, but they have to know that each platform is a country on its own, and it has its own population, its own language. And previously, we used to speak about traditional promotion, but on social media, you target and you select the age group, the place, the hobbies. And now in our age, in 2017, I don't see this in Jordan, but it started worldwide, which is the psychographics. So they divide the audience into 5 personalities, and what is the key? Like an extrovert, introvert, conservative, aware, with a life conscious, and each personality the same message, but it has 5 facets, each facet for each personality. So the companies have a large or big opportunity for promoting their products or services on social media, and persons also. I'm one of them, and there are many people. Without social media, we would have been within the still within the social circle, but the virtual world opened a lot of prospects for them to communicate with persons that they would not have been able to communicate with otherwise. Now we're done with the panelists. Now we will go to the questions. Khalid, you have some questions from social media, so if you can join in, please. I will try to answer the questions that have not been. What is your economic vision of Jordan for the next years in light of the surrounding circumstances and Jordanian economic development? I just want to answer, based on this question, what you asked me about the environment in Jordan. We don't want to talk about the human resources or the minds that are succeeding. Today, the best incubators that we have centers like a lab for games, and it has 7,000 people with huge technology. The environment is developing. The persons are there. And the economy, we know that it is difficult. It's not only today or yesterday. It has been this way since my grandfather. I've been hearing about the problem of the dinar and the dollar and the difficult situation. But we are living today in a flat world. It's open. The Jordanian market is no longer still. So this is the environment that I see economically for us based on the resources that we have. Karim, do you want to answer this question? At the Jordanian Strategies Forum, it issues like indices like the Investor Confidence Index and the Jordanian Economy Index. It's on their website, jfs.org, and the 2 indices are positive in general, despite all the challenges that we are facing, specifically with the closed borders with Syria and Iraq. However, the environment in general is promising. In my humble opinion, we in Jordan should also take advantage of the efficiencies that we have among Jordanian refugees. We have qualified persons among refugees. We have to help them to be creative and innovative and to establish their own companies and to try to create jobs not only for Syrians but also for Jordanians. My fear is that the refugees' presence in the host countries is like 17 to 20 years on average. So this means that we will have a lost generation if we do not try to help them and to benefit from their experiences, because the refugees who are creative or innovative, unfortunately, they are immigrating to other countries and we are losing them as well. Faisal, would you like to add anything? Maybe I can add, and this was mentioned at the forum itself, one of the sessions in previous years. If you want to look at economic growth, sustainable economic growth, what is known is the holy trinity of sustainable economic growth, the three basic things for sustainability: knowledge, capital, and legislation. Now, we have three challenges involving the three aspects. In capital, it is declining, so it is available for persons. There are sources that were not there before 10 years ago. When Oasis started, it was the only one as an accelerator, business accelerator and investor. It was also the fund that I worked in was the only one at the time. These increased and they are growing. So this is a positive sign of the ability of companies to get access to funding. The knowledge aspect, I don't want to say that we are still in an advanced position in the region and in the Arab world, but the stillness or in the deadlock in education, I think we are solving the situation now. It will not change overnight. I think the impact on education will appear in the next decade. What remains is legislation. The legislation challenge is still real and it exists, and frankly, here is the part where for people who oversee legislation, they have to look at the future to know that changing a law that hurts our budget today and hurts the revenues today will serve us in 10 years from now. So if we want to focus on a specific aspect, one of these three aspects, I think the biggest solution lies with legislation. Thank you, and I want to add something to the question that was asked, that we in Jordan, our capital is in this room. It's the persons that we have. And if we think that this statement is correct, then everything we do involving innovation, whether it's in software or social or artistic innovation, it will play a role in increasing the value of the economy that we have. What I want to take, the last thing that Faisal mentioned, which is legislation. If we do not have a vision in Jordan of the pattern of a new economic pattern, we will not have legislation. So a very clear new economic pattern, otherwise we will not have clear legislation to serve this. Because after all, legislation is the route or the avenue or the compass that will take us to the direction that we want.
You have been talking about Jordan specifically for the last 10 minutes. And I would just tell you that you can just take off the word Jordan from every sentence that you are saying and place any name of any other country in the Arab region. And the facts will remain the same. And this is why I believe that we really need to be, our rulers, our governments need to be really convinced, I mean, the real conviction that things need to be made in order to change the state of mind. Numbers speak most of the times better than words. And if you say that, if you see that the Arab region, countries of the Arab region produce around 5.6% of the world GDP, but they invest less than 1% in R&D. It is very clear what place they allocate to innovation in their policies. Most of the countries in the region do allocate less than 1% of their budget to the education. Ministries of education are usually the ones who have the least budgets in all these countries, which gives another idea about the place and the priority that is given to education in the region. It's not a lack of will, I would say, but I think that the comprehension of how to make changes in societies and economies need to be reconsidered. And here I have to mention the importance of having youth very much represented in the governments. They are aware, I mean, that each generation lives her or its own time. You know that people who are many people who are in this among the audience think that internet has been existing forever. Many of you were born with internet. We do not, and some of us had access to the internet. I had access to the internet when I went to the university, knowing that the university I went to was the first outlet in Morocco where we had internet, which means that I have lived 17 years of my life without that tool that is changing the world. I don't feel anymore belonging to that generation of youth that everyone is talking about, where our governors think that under 40 you're still young. So we really need to challenge all these concepts. Sometimes we think that it's only challenging for the sake of it, but actually we need to challenge all these misconceptions, because this is the only way we can make the change we want in our societies and our countries.
Thank you, Khadija. Khalid, في سؤال تاني?
Yes, I have. ليش بحكي بالإنجليزي مش عارف.
How can the World Economic Forum support the 100 entrepreneurs? The question is very important. Today, 100 entrepreneurs were selected to participate in the Dead Sea Forum, and there will be a day specifically designated for those 100 entrepreneurs who will participate at the expense of the WEF, and there will be specific sessions for those people with experts and with the persons whom we call mentors, the persons who have had experiences and stages, and they can help the 100 entrepreneurs to achieve greater success. Thank you very much. I want to ask if there are other questions, if the audience members have any questions. The person behind you. My question, several of you spoke about education. What are the services? What's the support that we can offer to the education sector in Jordan? Because we know that the students between 15 to 20 years, they will be at the time when we have less job opportunities. So what kind of support can we extend to the education sector to increase chances of innovation for those people? Thank you. Let us take another question. I have a question from the WEF. I have, sorry, but I have a question.
What practical steps can schools and universities make to give young people the skills they need for tomorrow's Middle East?
Let's take, there was a question here also. And the doctor had a question, the first row. Thank you, everybody. It's a very beautiful discussion, nice discussion. I'm Dr. Ibrahim Rawab, the Chief Executive Officer of the King Abdullah II Center for Excellence. My intervention is about the government sector, because Mr. Noor spoke about the income tax concept and innovation. we have, you know, an award for government excellence. And if we talk about innovation, without talking about the public sector and its contribution, I think this is a problem in Jordan, a big problem in Jordan. So I think that the group here, we talk about entrepreneurship and innovation. They are a small and limited circle. They could have an impact, but it is limited. If we move this to the government sector, we will see administrative thinking, development thinking, if the public sector believes in the role of innovation in government action. So I hope we can see this in the public sector as well. I hope to see a clear strategy applied in the government sector, or an innovative leader in the public sector. I think in the coming days, the government role should also be forecasting the future to see a promising public sector to work for Jordan's future. I think that we could have added also another part to talk about innovation in the public sector as well. I want to take 3 more questions. So we took these questions, and any of you, does anybody want to talk about education? This subject, I'm very much attached to it, which is education and innovation in education among school students, especially if we start talking. If we want innovation, we have to start from little children. And also, if we talk about culture, we have to start with little children. What can we provide to education? First of all, we need 3 things. We need the teacher, male or female teacher, to learn critical thinking and innovative thinking when they deliver education. It's important for any new teacher to be qualified or to have taken this training. Our curricula should not be memorization. Also, it should be how we can innovate. But until we do this, this will take a lot of time to train people and to introduce these things. We as institutions, there are ways by which we can contribute to introducing certain programs that have to do with innovation into schools today. And there are several things. Today we have the financial culture. It's being introduced into schools. And there's a program between the Central Bank and the Ministry of Education in Jazz and a number of banks and Abdul Hamid Shuman Foundation. We are introducing financial education into schools to encourage students to understand the meaning of entrepreneurship and financial education, because both have to do with innovation. Also, we have global contests like Intel, Google, and other contests, and many of our students are applying for these contests. Today, while sitting here, we have 18 little children between 14 and 18. They are in the United States. They are competing with 70 countries over innovative projects. Many of them have to do with agriculture, with industry, and how can we, those 18 little children and young people are competing among 450 children in the kingdom. How can we invest in them? How can we support them? And they are at schools and they can contribute also. Teachers. We have also atypical education. Let me use the snake and ladder example, how we can teach math by using this game. This is not really complicated, and it is there, and teachers are using it. So many schools are using it. I'm not talking about private schools, I'm talking about public schools, and also military education schools and honorable schools. If we take these examples and put them in a place whereby everybody can benefit from them, then we can change education and develop it. Thank you very much.
Would you repeat the question, Khalid, that you have asked, the last question? The last question that was asked for the WIF.
Practical steps can schools and universities make to give young people the skills they need in tomorrow's Middle East?
فالنتينا غطيتي هذا الحكي يمكن. Okay.
Valentina, you have already covered this. It's about time. Coding is a basic curriculum at the schools because this is the language that will be used in 10 or maybe 5 years. It's the language that we will be using. So the coding at the level of schools is a practical step that does not cost much. In addition to coding, we can use the smartphones as a tool inside the school. We're going around the schools in the governorates, and all teachers are complaining that all students have smartphones that impede their thinking. If we ask the teacher to use this in order to prevent this to be an obstacle, it's not only the internet issue. If we can integrate internet to schools so we can use the smartphones, because internet at schools is very important in education. I'm sorry, we can't take more questions. We're running short of time. I would like to thank you for your attendance. I like to thank the speakers for their time, for their insight and interventions, and I would like to thank the organizers of the World Economic Forum. Thank you, everybody.
لا هم في ناس بتوزع بس خليهم مع الشباب عشان